Exalted. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ. Please be seated. Well, my friends, today is a huge day for our brother and sister Lutherans, like our dear Pastor Katie here. It is Reformation Sunday, commemorating the theological correction that Martin Luther led, affirming that salvation is through God's gift of grace rather than through our own merits. Today, our Lutheran brothers and sisters are marching, singing, and serving Jell-O at their coffee hours. So if you notice, Katie over here is broadly smiling, has Jell-O stains on her dress, and seems to be humming, "A mighty fortress is our God." You will understand why, right? Let me begin with a story reminding us of Luther's teaching that our actions and works will often go awry. We will always fall woefully short of entitling us to salvation, and that God's love is a gift and cannot be earned. A young Sacramento couple, trying to be cautious in light of having two small children, split the children up and elected to take separate flights on separate days to their vacation destination in Hawaii. The husband and their son flew first, arrived safely in Honolulu, checked into their resort, and then the husband thoughtfully emailed his wife to let her know that they had arrived safely. There was only one problem. He mistyped her address. Mistakenly, this email went to a grieving woman in Dallas, Texas, who that morning had buried her husband Bill, an Episcopal priest. After her husband's service, she went through her email, reading the many thoughtful messages and condolences from family and friends. Then she gasped and as she opened this mistakenly sent email. Concerned, her husband looked at her open laptop screen and read the following email: "To my loving wife, I've arrived. I know you are surprised to hear from me, but they have computers here now, and you're allowed to send emails to loved ones. I've just arrived and checked in, and I see that everything has been prepared for your arrival tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Love, Bill. P.S. It sure is hot here." However, be sufficient to keep us in a right relationship with God. Our humanity, our propensity to screw things up, prevents it. Like the husband in this story, we will always make mistakes, come up short, and occasionally cause grief to others. The blowhard Pharisee, his description of himself is anchored in the assumption that faith is transactional. like a contract. That if we intellectually accept certain dogma and follow certain rules and practices, then we are entitled to salvation. That God must hold up his end of the contract. What Jesus tells us here is that, like this socially ostracized tax collector, we must cultivate an interior sense of humility and rely on God's undeserved forgiveness, his grace to sustain, comfort, and inspire us. When we fully accept and embrace this foundational understanding of God's desire to love us, warts and all, it will lead us to strive to build a world filled with acts of similar love and compassion. And we can do so courageously and sacrificially, because we know that, as the psalmist assures us, though we stumble, we shall not fall headlong, for the Lord holds us by the hand. And the words of the old hymn, unresting, unhasting, and silent as night. The writer Anne Lamont captured this for me, this undeserved love, when she said, I didn't need to fully understand hypostatic unity in the Trinity. I just needed to turn my life over to whoever came up with redwood trees. Love that. But how do we go about that? What does turning our life over to whoever came up with redwood trees look like? I have come to believe that it looks like a life lived not alone, but together in community. For us, it is living together in community as St. Michael's Church. There are many foundational lessons Jesus shared with us. A recurring and powerful one is modeling a life fully engaged with and acting through his community of believers. An African proverb beloved by Sarah Mullally, our new Archbishop of Canterbury, is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We live in a dangerous time, an age of pandemics, global heating, ever-widening financial inequality, an age of growing resistance to cultural and religious diversity, and frankly, a breakdown in long-held behavioral norms. In the midst of this, we courageously join together as a church to tell the truth in a society that lives in illusions, to grieve together in a society that practices denial, and express together hope in a society that lives quite often in despair. That is what we do here. That is who we are. Lights of Christ in this world. This cannot be done effectively by acting individually. However, it can be done if we commit ourselves to cultivate a communal consciousness. Our individually perceived identity must be subsumed in mutual support and action as St. Michael's Church. Occasionally, we can provide compassion, care, and wisdom as individuals, but more often than not, it is through coming together and acting as a community that we effectively provide such blessings. Frankly, I can no longer get on a ladder to help construct needing shelter for those in need of it. What I can do is contribute to our parish budget so that a team of younger, fit volunteers can be organized, promoted, and supported. The same holds true for many, many, many other Jesus-inspired initiatives that this church engages in on my behalf. Now, some of us simply don't have the ability to contribute money. Certainly not for our ministry here. Contributions come in other forms and have equivalent value and dignity. But most of us, for most of us, it is our financial generosity that is the lifeblood, that generosity that allows us to do what we do here as followers of Jesus. It enables Megan, Mike, Katie, Jesse, and me to take that phone call in the middle of the night, to be at a bedside for final prayers and spiritual support, to baptize our children and unloose through our liturgy, music, and Eucharist a connection with the divine that gives all of us the strength to get past the bad times and rejoice and give thanks for the good times. It is as church that we provide, promote, and support our formational programs from Marilyn McIntyre and Donna and Tyson Wright that are breathtaking in their depth and quality and sustain and enrich our faith. Now, please take to heart the truth that our financial generosity is fundamentally of a different kind than our financial support for other worthwhile programs and causes. Through it, we together become the agents of God in the world. We embrace a community consciousness for ourselves. And we are transformed into a part of something holy. Anglican priest George Herbert would call it the coin of gratitude. Poet Mary Oliver might say it's a prayer made visible. Poet Wendell Berry might describe it as putting your money where your belonging is. So let me leave you with a story about the futility of thinking you can take your nest egg along with you into heaven. An Episcopal priest named Mike was discussing burial plans with a kind and beloved parishioner whose husband had recently died. The husband had been quite frugal, denying his wife even the most modest of possessions. We are talking here of a veritable skinflint. Much to Father Mike's horror, the widow told him of her intention to honor her husband's request to bury most of their savings with him in his grave. So sure enough, as the casket was gently lowered into the grave on the day of the burial, Father Mike looked glumly on as the widow solemnly deposited a box and the casket, along with the casket, into this grave. Now, at the reception, Father Mike took the widow aside, told her how surprised and frankly disappointed he was that she honored her husband's request, and marveled at how she had managed to squeeze it all into that box. The widow gently tapped Father Mike on the arm, patted him,